Here we go. Uh, I've been working on this thing now for a day or so and made some improvements. Starting to look more like a boat the more you see it. I got the inner gunwales on, and I think the last video all I had was these blocks, these small blocks on. And now I had these boards under weight to bend them, and it kind of worked, but not really. It helped a little bit. They were rather stiff. These are 3/4 of an inch. The outside ones are 5/8. And that was my own determination on the inside one. I wanted to stiffen this up, and by placing this inner gunwale board in there, it just tightened the whole hull up really nice. You can see it's stepped in and tied in the front here. I stepped it in here and it stepped in there, so the front is tied in, and same way on the back corner pieces. If I were to go in the back, which I'm working in tight corners, but you will see that the back is stepped in also, right here. I don't know whether I'm getting all that or not. Okay, so basically that's what that looks like. Now the seat created a lot of different problems here, because as you can see from front to back, the boat has a nice bend in it. Okay, and not only does it have a bend going from front to back, but from top to bottom. So I've got kind of like a compound angle, and I had to fit it over that center rib and make a nice tight fit. And as you can see, I'm fairly happy with what I got here. I got some pretty good fits there. You know, it doesn't look too bad. You can see it's tight in against the hull, and it took a little bit of thinking to do this, which I'm not really good at. But I had to make a jig, and basically the jig was a piece of plywood that wasn't quite the width of the boat. Okay, I made it the same width as the board that I'm using for the seat, which happens to be pine. It's a nice clear pine, and so the seat itself is about say it's 46 inches wide. Well, I made my board about 40 inches wide, and left me about 3 or 4 inches on each side to play around with. Then I cut 2 smaller pieces of wood. Okay, so and then what I did with the smaller pieces of wood, you're seeing the end result here of this jig. But before and it's nailed on there now, but before I did any nailing, I used these clamps like this. Okay, one on each side of the board to hold this in place, hold this small piece to the big piece. Okay, and I did that on both sides. I did it over there, and I did it here, and I set this in place. Okay, and I had cut these notches in there, you know, so that it would fit over and fit in there. And you see it almost drops in now. It's just a little bit big. But anyway, once this was stretched across, what I did, I pushed that down there, and anyway, basically you can see how that sits in there now. So in order to get this proper curve here, I had my boards cut square. I made sure my edges lined up nice here, being it's the same width as the seat, right? So I want everything to stay the same. So I pushed it as far as I could this way, and then I took this little block and drilled a hole through that block of wood, and I sharpened my pencil very sharp, and just had a little bit of a nib sticking through. Well, you can't really see it now, but there is a very sharp point on this, and I stuck it through, and I pushed this little block up against the side of the boat, and I run this block back and forth, and it scribed a line, okay, on this smaller board. I removed my clamps, I took it over to my bandsaw, okay, over there, and I trimmed it down. I brought it back, I slid it into place, it fit perfectly, which was wonderful. It made me very happy. And I repeated that process on the same side over there. Okay? So now the second thing is the thickness. If I go down 3/4 of an inch on my seat, it's shorter here. You know, the distance from here to the other side of the boat is shorter. The distance on the top of the seat is longer. So what I essentially did was I took a little piece of plywood and say for instance a little piece of plywood like this, and of course I'll remove this clamp. I don't need it on there. I actually kind of skipped a step. After I got this all set up, I nailed it. Okay, so nothing would move because I had it perfect. Okay, I had scribed some lines on the side, so I knew where this board should be. I made a couple support boards to hold my form up. Okay. Okay. After I had it nice and level, I drew some lines on the side here. Okay, so now what I did is I took a little piece of plywood and I set it like so. Okay, I set it just like this. Now I can't hold this piece of plywood here now, but holding this piece of plywood with one hand, so that it was up against the side of the boat, I reached underneath the seat this way, and I drew a line on the plywood, and then I went over there and I cut it on my bandsaw, okay, and I labeled it, and this is what I got. I got a piece such as this, a little 3/4 inch piece of wood, and I marked it. I don't know whether you can see it or not, but I marked it. One side was the boat and the other was the seat, and I think I might even have this backwards now, but anyway, that's what I did in order to get that angle there. And I laid it all out. I cut it out, and to my surprise, it fits rather nicely. And I no longer need that form anymore. But anyway, as you can see, the seat fits pretty good. Okay. I'm really happy with that. It took a while to do, but it was worth taking the time. So now I've got to fit the back seat in and fit the front seat in. And I'm going to make some support blocks for them under here, which shouldn't be too bad. And I think I'll be pretty much ready to move on to the next step. So I know this is a little bit of a long film, but it all takes time, and I'm just enjoying the journey. So I'll see you next time. Captain Bob signing off.